With the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem, I would like to wish you a very happy and peaceful evening. And those friends who join with us from Sri Lanka and elsewhere, may you have a very good morning with the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. It is the first day of our Sutta study class in the new year. Today is January 7 for us here in Ottawa, and those who joined from us in Sri Lanka, join with us from Sri Lanka. They have Sunday morning. They spend Sunday morning with the Sutta study class. So it's a great pleasure to come together and study sutras in the name of practicing Dharma, so that we can, accelerate our journey into complete enlightenment. So that this very thought bring us joy and happiness, and I believe you have the same feeling in mind. This is again a wonderful occasion because we, in one sense, understand our Dhamma practice, comparing what the Buddha taught, and it's a great test for us to make sure that what we do and what we have to do and what we haven't done yet in the noble teaching, so that the authentic teaching of the Buddha are recorded in the discourses, so that we are going to know about them in the name of suttas in each week, depending on our availability. I know the fact that you have that essence in mind now in order for you to go and search the suttas individually. As a part of Dharma training, you got that ability so that you can continue your Dharma practice even without, teachers and Dharma classes, because you have gained that ability right now with the various Dharma practices and also encounters of different teachers. So without further ado, I just want to begin the Sutta study class for the first time in the new year by paying our homage to the Supreme Buddha. Let us recite together the Namo Tassa 3 times in Pali and in English to begin our Sutta studies. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends, we selected one of the wonderful discourses in the Digha Nikaya. This sutta is recorded as the second sutta of the Digha Nikaya. Before we talk about this particular sutta, I just want to tell you that the Namo Tassa we all recite at any time we conduct a sutta study or meditation or puja, has a real meaning behind it. As usual, we do this couple of, chanting at different occasion, perhaps a couple of times for the day. But you know what the fact that behind this Namo Tassa was uttered by not average people for the first time in the Buddha Sasana. It was uttered by the head of the Brahma realm and the divine realm, and also those bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and even lay followers who started following the Buddha's teaching either by listening to a discourse or once they attain to certain stages of enlightenment. So now it is a real satisfaction they have about the Buddha and about the Buddha's teaching, so that this one line came out of their mind spontaneously, not for 3 times, as a respect to the Buddha, and also to express their devotion to the Buddha and also the Dhamma, and to become a member of the bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, or upasaka and upasika order. So that this statement came to existence with that background, and I just want you to remember it and keep it in mind whenever you say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. It entirely tells yourself and everybody else that you have devotions to the Supreme Buddha, having pondered and thought about the Buddha qualities. So may that very beautiful teaching be a blessings to you for the new year. And the sutta we discuss is Samanya Pala Sutta. By its title, it says the fruits of the ascetic life. Samanya means sramana, or the mendicants. Pala means the results of being a mendicant or a sramana or a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni. Here we don't talk about particularly upasaka and upasika titles, but we talk about being ordained, being a monk or a bhikkhuni. So what you can get out of this life when you practice Dhamma and discipline is being talk in details as a questions as an answer to a questions put forward by one of the eminent king at the time of the Buddha. As this is the second discourse of the Digha Nikaya, you know that this is too long to read with one breath. However, it is an interesting conversation between the Buddha and the king Ajatasattu, the second king of that country during the time of the Buddha. The first one was a follower of the Buddha, and also extreme emperor, which means the father of the king Ajatasattu was able to attain to Sotapanna state, so that he was the follower of the Buddha. But Ajatasattu was spoiled by the bad companionship due to some reason, so that he was unable to claim such state of peace and happiness in his life. But later on, he understood the philosophy of his life and what he was doing, and the severe repercussions of what he was doing was understood by King Ajatasattu, but it was too late for him to turn them upside down, because they were rigorous, very dangerous karma. Anyway, when you go into details of the discourse, if you had the time to read, you find that it is really interesting. If I summarize the discourse, it would be beneficial for those members of our group did not read the discourse. Anyway, my suggestion for you to read it from the beginning to the end. If you find repetitions, try your best to avoid them and understand the core factors of the discourse for you to enjoy it. So friends, as you know, it happened during the time King Ajatasattu was not normal. If you go to the very details of the discourse, you see that King Ajatasattu was really upset about certain things he did, so that he was not sleeping well. According to the commentaries, you find that he was having nightmares in each night. Though he was though he was one of the kings at the time with so many powerful armies, and he was unable to sleep. He always thought that somebody come and put me into grave so that he was not sleeping. One night he was uh, admiring whole night atmosphere. It was the full moon day. So then at the time, the king Ajazattu admired the night with the moonlight. The Buddha was living close by in the country that Ajazattu controlled. It is said in the discourse at the very beginning there were 1,250 monks with the Buddha, and they were all living at the park. Mango Garden belongs to one of the ministers of King Ajatasattu called Jivaka Kumar Bhaja. So this Jivaka, was there with the king, and in the story of the Sutta, we found that the king was somehow unable to, find happiness. Asked ministers around him where we can go tonight with this beautiful moonlight and peaceful atmosphere to get some religious teaching to make our mind more happy and contented. Then we find that the ministers there talk about 6 different teachers at the time. They were very famous. As you know, these teachers were with their large group of students, both ordained and non-ordained. So each ministers, depending on their faith and devotions, talk about those 6 teachers, and each of those ministers gave some type of introduction about who they are and what they are. And this is not the only place. We found the information of these 6 teachers, and it is scattered in Digha Nikaya and other Nikayas. So this is one of the places that we found the information of those famous teachers. So these ministers, depending on their faith and devotions to their teaching and teachers, they talk about it is better for you to go with us to this teacher that I follow, because of this he is famous among the disciples and average people in average society and people, so that I think you better go there and make some good things to make your mind happy. But we don't find that King Ajatasattu gave the consent, full consent of going there. In the meantime, the King Ajatasattu saw the Jivak was in silence, not telling anything about any religious leader and so forth. Before that, we just want to mention those 6 teachers' name. So the first one is Purana Kassapa. Kumara Kassapa is a bhikkhu's name. Purana Kassapa, and the second one Makkali Gosal, Ajita Kesa Kambala, Pakuda Kachayana, Sanjay Bellatiputta, and Nigantanatha Buddha. So they have a lot of good things in the sense of sila. Some were very good, some were not that good. But when it compares to Buddha's teaching and morality in Buddha's teaching, they were doing nothing. But from the social context, they were really doing great, because they were totally against the Brahmanism. The creator theory was not in their context and content, because they were against them. However, they were maintaining their tradition with a lot of support from business people, the king of those countries they travel, and so many things were there in their background. Then that's why the ministers, even the ministers of the king like Ajatasattu were disciples of those great religious leaders. So when the king Ajatasattu saw Jivaka was in a silent mode, he turned to Jivaka and asked, "Why are you in this mood? You are not talking about anything." Then the opportunity was there for Jivaka to talk about the Buddha, because the Jivaka was the follower of the Buddha. Not only that, he allowed the Buddha and the bhikkhus and other, disciples of the Buddha to stay in his park, in his place, for longer period or at any time, because it is said that Jivaka had his house in a different place, and this place belonged to Jivaka, was maintained as a separate property. So then the Jivaka talk about the Buddha with great reverence, and he confirmed that if you go to the Buddha, you would be really getting something out from his teaching to make your mind happy and peaceful. We know the fact that King Ajatasattu was well aware of the Buddha's teaching, because Venerable Devadatta was the closest bhikkhu he associated during first couple of years of his administration as a prince, as the second, the top level of the country, at the Yuvaraj. So the knowledge about the Buddha in King Ajatasattu was not nil. He knew something, but perhaps the king did not know that the Buddha and with his bhikkhus staying is staying in that particular close by park. Anyhow, we found such information that the Buddha was not, King Ajatasattu was not able to recognize the Buddha by just appearance. In the middle of the introduction part, we see that uh, King Ajatasattu was unable to recognize the Buddha while when he was in the monastery. Anyway, then he decided to go, because he sensed that he could get some psychological support from the Buddha, because King Ajatasattu wanted to go to somebody like the Buddha or any spiritual leader, because of the suffering he has been having for a long time, since his father's death, and also other problem. He was not feeling well. Some time, some of those close people might be telling him that you did something wrong. Anyway, so king, according to the Sutta, asked his queen and the other people in the harem, get ready to go with him, and then the ministers and soldiers. It's not a simple parade; it's a huge parade. Went to the Jivaka's place, and we find that there was utter silence. This is a very remarkable. The Buddha, along with 1,250 monks, stayed in the park, but nobody made any what do you call noise, no conversation at all. Everybody was in meditation, silent meditation. Sometimes we see that monks come together and talk each other about certain Dharma elements and issues they have. At this moment, nobody was talking. Perhaps it was later part of the day, so that everybody goes to their own places under the trees and around trees. in caves and under roofs of kuti. So they were meditating just to end the day. Then the king was so upset, thinking that this could be a kind of trap of king of Jivaka Komar Bacha to kill him, so that he was fearful about that, and he questioned. Then, because King Ajatasattu, being one of the major monarch in India at the time, he was always curious about what is going on. Is there any danger to my country, my army, myself, and so forth? So don't think that those leaders of today's world also are so peaceful. They have so many questions to worry about. So being a leader is not a peaceful thing anymore in this world. At the time of the Buddha, they were not happy. In today's world, they were not happy either. And even in the future, they were not. They won't be happy because there are so many things going on in their mind. They are like us. They were human. They are humans. So the capacity of their mind with mundane things is limited, so that they would stay in fear because of the attachment to themselves and other things around their life. Then Jivaka, told the king that don't worry. The Buddha and monks followed by the Buddha are such that they do not talk unnecessarily, and they meditate always as a matter of living. It's a noble way of living, so that go forward until you see the Buddha. And at some point, they stop by, and the king Ajatasattu asked where the Buddha is. I want to talk to him. Then Jivaka showed King Ajatasattu the Buddha at some point in the middle of the hall in the park, so that the king is starting talking. The noble silence the bhikkhus maintained was remarkable, and whenever noble disciple come together, Buddha asks us to do two things. One is Dhammiva Katha. If you have a conversation, turn it into Dharma, or it should be about Dharma. It should be about something you really wanted to hear in the conversation. Don't talk about unnecessary things that help hindrances come forward. So talk about something to let go of hindrances. That is called Dhammivakata. Otherwise, Aryovatunhibhavo maintains noble silence. It's not complete silence, it's noble silence. There is a difference between noble silence and complete silence. So then the attitude of Ajatasattu when he shows the bhikkhus is expressed in the sutta. He suddenly thought that if my son Udaybhadra also experience this peace, this happiness here right now in these monks, I would be a really happy father. So this means that King Ajatasattu wanted his son to experience that peace. It may be because of the son's behavior as he knew. In the commentary, it is said that King Ajatasattu was so tortured by the son Udaybhadra and thrown away from the king at the last stages of King Ajatasattu's life. Same thing happened to same thing he did to his father was returned to him from his own son, so that at the before he trained his son to be the king of the country, he thought that my son would be a very peaceful one, very nice one, and if my son experienced this peace like these monks, it's a great thing for me. So like you think about your own son and daughters, the king Ajatasattu of the Magadha also thought the same thing. Then we found the information that King Ajatasattu opened the discussion by asking questions. He made that kind of venerations to the Buddha with palm together and sitting in front of the Buddha with reverential way. After he did that, he said that I want to ask a question from the Buddha, if you don't mind. Then he said something very important. I know different trained people for different businesses and field of important work like craftsmen and farming, business, administration, accounting, and various other professions. Because of their skills, particularly, for example, farmer, he or she can earn a lot of money out of selling the crops he gets from farming. For a business person, he does selling things and earn lot of money from that. So and craftsmen make lot of things and sell them and get and the people in the administration get food and salary and other protection, so that there are benefits from each of these profession. Likewise, could you please, Bante, point out a similar fruits of the recluseship visible here and now? This is the very question he asked the King Ajatasattu asked from the Buddha. Like those people in the society worked and get benefits from their profession, is there any results of recluseship, being a monk in your order? What can they could get from out of it? So then the Buddha counter questions there. Um, um, did you go to other teachers in the country like Pakuda Kachayana, Makkali Gosala, Nigantanathut, and so on? Ask the same questions. Then the king said, yes. When I had free time or when I travel different places, I met those teachers who are famous and asked the same questions. And then the Buddha said, if you don't mind, can you please tell me their answers in short? Then the king talk about the answers those teachers gave to the question he asked from the Buddha. And as you know, my friends, they are talking about something very normal, I would say, sometimes very illogical, ignorable. So as you read through the Purana Kasava is talking about something non-action. It means that he did not believe that actions, give results. For example, even if you killed a couple of human beings, it's mean that you suppose you use a sword or any kind of very sharp knife or something. He said that it is not any rigorous activity that entails karma. It is just only taking a metal in between muscles and blood and things. That's what happened. And after that, no birth happened at all. For the person who did that, as well as the person who became a victim of that killing. So Purana Kassapa always talks about non-action. When King Ajatasattu asked the same question from Purana Kassapa like this, is there any benefit of reclusive in your order? He has given such an answer about non-action. So then King Ajatasattu said that when I asked about coconut, he was talking about mango. My question is about coconut, and the answer is coming from Purana Kasapa is about mango, which is not relevant. Likewise, I asked the same questions from those 6 teachers who are famous at the time, and they were talking about something different. And from my layman knowledge, they were such, and I didn't find any peace at all from those conversations. Then, having questions like this, the Buddha asked, then listen to me, and I'm going to tell about my answers, so that Buddha is giving a very long answer. The whole, I think, 80% of the sutta is about the answer given by the Buddha to King Ajatasattu about the benefits or the fruits of reclusive as a bhikkhu and bhikkhuni. I suggest you to read that part if the first part of the sutta is not that interested, because the dharma we could find in the sutta is in this section, from where the Buddha talks about the benefits of reclusive. Here I just want to say you why I select this sutta, because of the benefits of monkshood. Sometimes people think that being a monk is nothing. It's a kind of changing their way of behavior, way of life, from lay life to how a homeless life, which means bhikkhuhood. And you may not be able to guess what it is actually. uh, Being a layperson, you are not in a position to understand fully the monk's life. But if you live with monks at the monastery, you are going to guess what it is accurately. But being a monk is the way to know who is a monk. Anyway, with information, with shraddha, with knowledge, we can see how hard it is. But here it is very uh, informative with regard to the dhamma the a monk should practice. But there are other things that sutta did not discuss. Anyway, I would like to go on sutta with those factors. So King Ajasattu repeated the same question, and then the Buddha said a very nice thing. Buddha's knowledge as the Buddha is really shown here. Um One thing we always admire as a quality of the Buddha is the ability to take some examples around the context and explain the Dhamma. It is impossible for anyone except the Buddha. The Buddha could answer to any questions asked by not only the king but any powerful being in the universe. He would be able to answer the questions at the same time. The question asked and answer is really logical. This is only been done by the self-enlightened Buddhas. So for me personally, Shraddha rising in me towards the Buddha when I read this discourse, by thinking the great ability of the Buddha. The Buddhahood is really admired here when you read the sutta. So he said that suppose you are the king, and suppose one of your servant who worked close to your sleeping area worked every day devotedly, and he saw that you